Hello, and thank you for joining me for the next One Piece review and discussion about the latest One Piece chapter. We are at the conclusion now of the event at Hachinosu and what happens to Garp, Koby, and everybody else involved. So, no cover story this week. We've gone in a different direction. Oda has drawn a beautiful colour spread in the run up for the Netflix show coming on the 31st of August. And it is our East Blue Straw Hat, all in their attire during the Arlong Park. And he had to go back and draw them in their own sort of style and look as they were when they initially were released, which is lovely to see. And we get all the little prominent figures. But I believe the Shonen Jump cover is Luffy and Iñaki, who's playing Luffy, like sort of arm in arm together, which I think is a really nice touch. So they're really trying to now promote this Netflix show. So fingers crossed it really pays off. But without further ado, chapter 1088, the final lesson. This is the last lesson, you Marines. So back at Marineford, we immediately start with a flashback, jumping way back, and this is lesson one. This is the first lesson. This is the only lesson I think Garp will ever teach, and he gives a riddle, a sort of challenge to these young Marines, and this is when like he's first like teaching like Koby, Helmeppo, and all them. They're like just been taken in, so he's probably still a chore boy. And this lesson, lesson one, is there is a baby and an old man, and you and them are stranded on this island full of fierce beasts. And he says there's a boat that can carry two people. This is a tough riddle now. He says there's a boat and it can carry a maximum of two of you. Who do you choose? And Koby stands up and he's like, well, I'll get off the boat, and I'll let those two, the child and the old man, onto the boat and let them get to. And immediately Garp chucks like this bottle, he throws something at Koby's head. He's like, wrong, idiot, what are you doing? He's like, no, you abandoned the half dead geezer, the old man, just abandon him. And the sort of teacher in the room's like, anyway, Garp, what are you saying? Not really. And he's sort of questioning. And we actually see Groose in the background, a little bit older than Koby. But he's like, Garp still shouting, saying like, why the hell did you want to become a Marine? Is it to safeguard the future, right? Is that what you're trying to do? Yeah, you really got to keep in mind that, you're a lot younger and you've got so much more time than all these old fossils. You take the baby and you live on, and the instructor's like having a word with him, and I think it's Aokiji as well in the room. You can only see the back of a Marine, but he's got like that like curly hair that Aokiji has. But he's like getting lectured. He's like, "Oh, all these lives are equal. Don't give me that lecture again and again. The potential of youth is limitless." So it's sort of Oda's immediate foreshadow for the end of this chapter of what Garp is setting up in his own words, basically. But we don't go straight to Hachinosu. We actually come to Amazon Lily. So this was just a few weeks before we are in present time, when obviously we had Blackbeard trying to get Boa's fruit. And we've got all of the Marines have been captured by Blackbeard. So obviously Rayleigh showed up, put an end to Blackbeard and was like, all right, simmer down, simmer down. And he's captured all the Marines instead because he can't leave empty-handed. It would reflect poorly on this new emperor. But we've got Vice Admiral Yamakaji, who was there with all the Marines, and obviously Koby. And Koby comes to confront Blackbeard, and he's like, oh, what do you want, hero? Like, you're just going to start a war, are you? And as Koby goes to speak, Yamakaji's like, Koby, what are you doing? And someone whispers in his ear that he's with sword. So then Yamakaji's like, all right, leave him to it. And Koby declares, he says, you can take me, but release everyone else. The battleship, the 800 Marines you have captured, trade me in their place. and all the Marines are like heartfelt, but like Blackbeard's like, wow, you're really full of yourself, aren't you? All right. So obviously we know that Koby was the one that got taken, all the Marines got released, but we now cut straight back to now present day time, and we've got everyone's reaction to Pizarro taking on his island form, and he created that giant hand where we left off, and it is coming down onto Garp shit where all the people have been rescued are on, and they are panicking. They're saying their cannon fire is ineffective. So it is made up of like bricks and land, and clearly explosive isn't breaking through like this sheer density of this hand. And what's interesting is Kujaku's sort of like mesmerized by the power she's seeing right now. But Tashigi is the one being like, right, everyone's got to be prepared to man the ship, hurry, everyone, like, get in positions, we've got to protect the civilians. So while higher officers are freaking out, Tashigi's putting in the work as still only a captain, I believe. She is the one who's like, in a critical moment, she knows what she's doing. Meanwhile, back on Hachinosu, Garp's just taking a breather. He's fine, just having to lie down, while the other three, Koby, Helmeppo, and Prince Groose, all just sort of defend him from the onswarming. Onswarming's not really a word. Onslaught is probably a better word. The swarming onslaught of pirates who are just flanking everywhere. And Garp's right, don't worry, guys. I'll give you an opening to get out. We gotta deal with that hand and save the civilians. Am I right? So he sort of orders, right, Koby, you're gonna go deal with the hand. Smash it to bits. You got it. Groose, you're gonna stop the debris when it falls. That's your job. And Helmeppo, you're gonna make sure that no one gets in their way, that they can do their job. And he's like, never second guess yourself in the moment. Right, off you go. And immediately all three of them like, aye, sir. Immediately fly off, like just such speed, racing off towards the hand. And a lot of the pirates like turn and begin to chase. They see Koby, this hero, and they just want to put him down in his place. So as they're rushing, Bruce is like, right, you got some explosives, don't you, Koby? You can deal with this. And Koby's like, nope, don't have any of that. I'll just have to figure something out. And he's like, how are you going to figure this out? This palm is literally the size able to crush a battleship. How are you just going to figure something out? But as they're in conversation, we see a pirate with looks like a giant cannon fires an explosive shell, a cannonball towards them. But Helmeppo's catching it, and he's like got the words of Garp in his mind saying, make sure no one gets in their way. And he's like, I just need to buy them time. And he sort of spins, and with his like blades, he like slashes into the cannonball so it explodes, protects Koby and Groose. But Garp is now just staggering up, and we see Aokiji and like this stare down with him, being like, do you think you're actually going to be able to keep going with a wound like that? And we get the "tis but a scratch" moment from Garp, this hardened veteran. And before even Aokiji can say any more about hey, I was worried, he said, about that Garp was gonna pack in. Garp charges and immediately shoulder barges through Aokiji, through the other pirates, and begins to rush up the island, sort of bouncing off buildings. And he just coats his arm up, and even Pizarro is like, oh, he's coming straight for me. I've got to crush this ship now. I can't get distracted. But Garp takes a giant punch into the skull itself, cracking it right down the middle. We get Galaxy Divide. This unbelievable shockwave straight through. But we see that Pizarro still in the room inside the skull, but takes a massive hit in himself. So like all blood spurts from like down his face. So he's still holding like the island in control, but when the island sustains a big amount of damage, his own body feels it. So he takes the brunt of this galaxy divide. But Koby and Groose are like, right, that's the opening. This is where we've got to act. And Groose is like, well, what are you going to do then? What have you got planned? And Koby's just like, I'm going to live up to his expectation. And he jumps off. He goes straight ahead past Groose. And we can see Pizarro is still talking and saying, like, you think that's going to stop me, You've really pissed me off now, and he's got still, like, his one hand is, like, holding the skull head up while the other hand is now coming down onto the ship. And we see a brief flashback in this moment from Garp. And it's him talking to Helmeppo about Koby. And he says, "Wow, Koby's been improving a lot lately. Why is he so beat up all the time? Why is he always covered in bandages and looking terrible?" And Helmeppo's like, "Well, I really shouldn't be saying this, but compared to everyone else, he's always not had the aptitude, or he's always been compared for having zero combat. And instead of working 10 times harder, he works 200 times harder to improve and get stronger. And we see he says I've got to keep training. He wants to protect everyone. He can't do that right now. He'll never be a great Marine." And Garp's even like, "Wait, so you're saying after all the special training I've put them through, that he then goes off and works out more?" And Helmeppo's like, "Yeah, he never misses one day. And the whole night after your training regime, he spends the whole night hitting one out at Battleship Banks." And we see that giant battleship. We see Koby, just a small shadow, but working away. And Garp knows. Garp's smiling now. So as Pizarro begins to like jest with Koby, being like, "Compared to my hand, my paw, you are an ant. What do you possibly think you're going to be able to do? I'm going to enjoy the scream of all these Marines that when they jump overboard, Aokiji will just freeze the water." He said, "There's no way out of this." And we can see everyone's reaction now being like, "We've got to go. Why is Koby up in the air?" And Koby, in that moment, he charges up his armament. He's like, "I've got to break through. Their blood will be on my hand if I don't deal with this." And he performs Honesty Impact. What a great name for a Koby attack. But he shatters right through the arm of the island. Koby now has almost the equivalent strength of Garp. He's done that much training. Now, what's fascinating to me is he's such an innocent soul and like not very confident in himself. Certainly, well, more confident than he was, but he doesn't know his own strength. He has summed up all of this training and like wanting to protect people in this moment, and has sort of awakened to this true strength he has. He's always been holding himself back, and this is just when he just lets it loose and ruptures this hand. We see everyone's shocked reaction that Koby had this strength this whole time. We see Pizarro, his arm like splits and just begins to like bleed, and people begin to like rush into the room, like look after Pizarro, like, "Oh, like what's happening?" But everyone is just mesmerized by his strength. We got Tashigi, Hibari, all looking up and seeing how amazing Koby is in this moment. And what's fascinating is his like eyes closed. We get one little panel of Koby where like he's just done the punch, And he's like shutting his eyes. He's like, "Did I do it? I don't know." But we've got Garp just laughing, watching this destruction of this hand, and everyone is like, "It's unbelievable." Bruce is like, "So you've been hiding this strength all this time?" And obviously doing his job, he creates a giant like clay web to catch all the debris before it hits the ship. And Helmeppo begins to race. We can see he's all right. He's damaged and beat up, but he's rushing towards the ship, and he's the one to jump under the debris and catch Koby. And even Koby's like, "I did it. Like I really did it. That arm was as big as a mountain, but like I blew it to smithereens. I destroyed it." So he now is aware of how strong he can be. He didn't realize it, that all the training has paid off, and now he can protect people. But they land on the ship, and everyone's cheering as well. That like Prince Bruce stopped the debris and saved them. But we've got everyone on board now, safe and sound. Praising Koby and everyone. And Tashigi gets the call from Garp that the mission to save Koby was a success. And Tashigi's like, "Right, copy that. You get back to the ship as soon as you can." And Garp gives the order that they are immediately to withdraw now from Hachinosu. That he'll figure something out, but in this situation, the lives that they have rescued and the lives of the young, the safety of the kids is the top priority. Do you finally understand now? So going back to his lesson that we got at the start of the chapter, but he says that their success will be a serious blow to pirates everywhere and to keep moving forward because they should never forget that they are the future of the Marines. And we see a shot of all the pirates sort of swarming in. We've got Salmon Wolf, Shiryu, Vasco Shot, and Aokiji all stood around Garp on the floor as he is impaled with a large spear of ice. And he's just laughing, being frozen over from Aokiji's power. And he's just laughing, almost like when Saul did at O'Hara when he got frozen over, and he's just laughing away, just loving himself. But we end with a shot of Egghead in the distance and all of the Marine ships heading towards it, with the narrator saying that, however, another story would also gain the world's attention. The Egghead incident, where Emperor Straw Hat Luffy would face a siege on the island of the future. So we are now going into, we've got a break next week, which is upsetting, but we are now getting ready for this incident. Something is going to happen. We know that St. J. Garcia Saturn is on one of those ships. We know of the betrayal of York. So how that's going to play out now amongst the Straw Hats. I'm excited to find out. Let me know what you think, and I will see you later.